Is the EU deal with Israel and Egypt a way out from Russian gas? Critics argue that the EU will face problems dealing with Israel and Egypt despite Brussels' enthusiasm. When the European Commission chief Ursula von der Leyen signed an agreement to ship gas from Israel through Egypt to the European Union, she clearly wanted it to be seen as a big achievement. At the ceremony, held at a five-star hotel in Cairo on Wednesday, von der Leyen hailed the deal as a historic step away from Russian energy and towards a green transition. Breaking away from Russian dependency. Brussels has been seeking to diversify its energy supplies after importing roughly 40% of its gas from Moscow last year. Russian companies have turned off supplies to several unfriendly countries that refuse to accept Moscow's rubles for gas payment scheme, sending EU states scrambling for alternatives. On a visit to Israel on Tuesday, von der Leyen said Russia's attempt to blackmail us through energy had led the EU to turn to trustworthy suppliers. "I am very grateful that you are willing to increase the deliveries of gas to the European Union via Egypt," she said, addressing Prime Minister Naftali Bennett. Not everyone agrees with the EU's thought process on the deal, however. The European Union is shifting from one repressive regime to two more. Pasco Sabito, researcher and campaigner at the Corporate Europe Observatory, told Al Jazeera it is putting the priority of getting gas over human rights. Cairo and Tel Aviv are accused of grave human rights violations and war crimes. Egyptian President El-Sisi has drawn criticism from Western countries for the prosecution of activists, journalists and perceived political opponents under counterterrorism. The Israeli military has been accused of human rights violations for decades, including military assaults on the blockaded Gaza Strip, the continued illegal occupation of East Jerusalem and the West Bank, and the recent killing of Al Jazeera journalist Shireen Abu Akleh. According to Sabito, gas exports will grant both governments greater political leverage and room for the whitewashing of human rights abuses. The money, from gas, is going to be spent on increasing militarization, increasing settlements. Whilst the EU might be claiming to move away from Russia, it is doing so at the expense of Palestinians. An increase in gas exports from Israel to Europe will also require Tel Aviv to explore its natural gas fields to find commercially viable quantities of gas. On May 30, Karina El-Arar, the Israeli energy minister, tweeted that Israel was engaging in efforts to assist Europe by embarking on the fourth Israeli natural gas exploration. The push for gas could further heat up the dispute between Israel and Lebanon over a disputed maritime area of about 850 square kilometers, 328 square miles. Israel has set up a gas rig at the Karish field, which Tel Aviv says is part of its United Nations recognized exclusive economic zone, while Beirut says it is in a disputed area. Green transition. In Cairo, von der Leyen said the Memorandum of Understanding tapped into the full potential of EU-Egypt relations, by putting the clean energy transition and the fight against climate change at the heart of the cooperation will have a particular focus on renewable energy sources, hydrogen, and energy efficiency, she told reporters. The agreement recognizes that natural gas will have a central role in the EU's energy market until 2030. Following that, the use of natural gas is expected to decline in line with its commitment to becoming a zero-emission economy by 2050. Organizations including Friends of the Earth and Food and Water Action Europe have cautioned against letting short-term energy supply concerns lock Europe into longer-term, costly deals that take years to become operational. "We are highly concerned with any gas plans that are locking the EU on fossil fuel dependency for the years to come, and this is what this deal is actually doing," Frieda Kieninger, Director of EU Affairs at Food and Water Action Europe, told. The memorandum mentioned the East Med pipeline, a complex project costing an estimated €5.2 billion, $5.4 billion, along with annual maintenance costs, as one of the options to bring gas to Europe. But the United States earlier this year pulled its support for the planned 1,900 kilometers, 1,181 mile, pipeline after saying the project would take too long to build and be too costly to be viable. Von der Leyen's claimed that the pipeline will hopefully one day be a hydrogen-ready pipeline runs counter to the expert opinion that sees turning an LNG import terminal into a hydrogen-receiving terminal as a near impossible task. According to reports by Food and Water, the Brussels-based organization also found the hydrogen hype machine to be in full swing, with the EU presenting the solution as a silver bullet while it instead produces significant. An analysis of more than 200 documents obtained through Freedom of Information rules by the organization pointed to a concerted lobbying campaign by the gas industry to convince the EU to embrace hydrogen as the clean fuel of the future. Doing so secured political, financial, and regulatory support for a hydrogen-based economy, the organization found. Food and Water Action Europe said it sees the memorandum as yet another sign that the EU has put the gas industry in the driving seat. The agreement will do very little to reduce dependency on Russian gas in the short term, Keenanger said. It will not deliver from the start and will not do anything or very little to reduce dependency on Russian gas, while at the same time it will stop the development of actual solutions.